On the 41st day of the trial into the disappearance of 6-year-old Joshlin Smith, Judge Nathan Erasmus handed down one of the harshest sentences available under South African law. Kelly Smith, Jacquen Appollis, and Steveno van Rhyn were each sentenced to life imprisonment for human trafficking and 10 years for kidnapping. Their names will also be entered into the National Child Protection Register, a permanent mark of their betrayal of a child's innocence. But this video is not about them, it's about someone else, Lourentia Lombard, a state witness whose freedom now lies in the balance. Before we continue, this is just to inform new viewers, we've reached the end of our Joshlin Smith trial breakdowns. The sentence has been delivered and effectively this closes the chapter on the trial phase of the case, but this is not the end of the Joshlin Smith saga. Remember, the search for the 6-year-old is still ongoing, so any new developments that surface in future, we will be there to break it down for you. Also, Lorentia Lombard must also have her judgment day, an upcoming hearing that we will break down in this video. However, most importantly, we will relaunch our true crime podcast, Crime Central South Africa, with a thorough deep dive into the Joshlin Smith case that will premiere on Tuesday, the 3rd of June 2025 on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link to that channel we will leave in the description. We will also be launching Season 2 of Unsolved Murders SA, a podcast series that focuses on unresolved cases in South Africa, particularly those that have gone cold over the years. Thank you for the subs, likes, shares and comments. It really helps us, a small self-funded media publication, in our mission to tell South African stories in a meaningful way. So back to the breakdown. Judge Erasmus made it clear there would be no mercy. In a direct rebuke of arguments about rehabilitation, he said, open quote, "Even if I was not bound by the prescribed sentence, I would still have considered the harshest sentence I could impose," close quote. The judge found no redeeming qualities in the 3 accused, despite arguments from their defense. He described Kelly Smith as manipulative and unremorseful, Jacquen Appollis as callous, and Steveno van Rhyn as a quote-unquote menace to society. In referencing the gravity of Count 2, human trafficking, Judge Arasmus leaned heavily on the Pakotip Act, legislation designed to protect vulnerable persons from exploitation. He reminded the court that, open quote, "Joshlin was treated as a commodity, sold for 20,000 rand, close quote. And the most damning part, Joshlin is still missing. Here's the twist in the state strategy. Prosecuting a human trafficking case without the victim is extraordinarily difficult, and yet the state secured 3 life sentences. The key was Lourentia Lombaard. She turned state witness under Section 204 of the Criminal Procedure Act, a provision that offers conditional immunity in exchange for full, truthful testimony. Her testimony gave the prosecution exactly what they needed: a first-hand account of the planning and circumstances leading up to Joshlin's disappearance, and confirmation that a 20,000 rand transaction had been discussed and that she was supposed to receive 1,000 rand from that deal. And most importantly, corroboration of the motive that Kelly wanted to be rid of her daughter to start a new life with Jacquen. Without Joshlin and without hard forensic evidence linking the accused to a specific transaction, the case hinged entirely on circumstantial evidence and Laurentia's testimony, and yet her credibility remains highly questionable. Judge Arasmus himself said, open quote, "She also on that day looked Joshlin in the eye, gave her something to eat, and did nothing to protect her," close quote. Even as the judge postponed a final decision on Laurentia's fate, he made it painfully clear she was not innocent. She was simply the one who chose to speak. To understand why Lourentia Lombard's upcoming immunity hearing is so controversial, we have to go back, not to the day Joshlin disappeared, but to who Lourentia was before that moment. At face value, Lourentia is just another resident of Deersville in Saldanha Bay. But her journey starts in Wolseley, a farming settlement nestled near the Wittebrug Nature Reserve. When her father died over a decade ago, she moved more than 125 kilometers west in search of a better life. People who knew her back then described her as well-mannered, church-going, even beautiful, but life in Saldanha changed her. By her own admission, Lourentia was a heavy drug user, smoking dick and mandrax daily for more than 16 years. In March 2024, when she was arrested, she was visibly malnourished, agitated, and unstable. When she returned to court in October of that year, the judge himself noted her transformation. She was clean, composed, almost unrecognizable. Her testimony would soon become the most crucial and the most contested in the state's case. Laurentia's account placed her at the center of Joshlin's disappearance. According to her, on Sunday the 18th of February 2024, she overheard Kelly Smith tell Jacquen Appollis she was going to quote-unquote follow her own head regarding Joshlin. Later that day, she saw Kelly meet a woman near a white VW Polo, exchange something she couldn't identify, and return claiming she had received 20,000 rand. Kelly allegedly confessed, open quote, "Rens, I just sold my child to a sangoma," close quote. Joshlin was 6 years old. Lourentia told the court she was offered 1,000 rand to keep quiet. She never received it, but she never reported the plan either. On Monday, the 19th of February, the day Joshlin disappeared, Lourentia testified that Kelly left clear instructions, open quote, "Have Joshlin ready by 2 p.m., close quote. She witnessed Kelly pack clothes into a black cooler bag for Joshlin. Around that time, Joshlin was taken to a polo and never seen again. In her testimony, Lourentia repeatedly insisted that while she was not the mastermind, she knew enough to stop it and didn't. She told the court, open quote, "I was angry. I couldn't believe I was part and parcel of the plan," close quote. But Laurentia's version of events was not always consistent. The defense hammered her during cross-examination. Her initial confession in March 2024 was filled with contradictions. She lied about whether she could hear conversations from afar. She gave shifting accounts of when the money was exchanged, who was present, and how many polo sightings there were. Even Judge Erasmus picked up on it, pointing out the discrepancies in timeline accuracy, especially about the events of the 18th and the 19th of February. Whether she went to Kelly's house with the children, she originally said she did, then admitted that she didn't. Her motivation. Was she cooperating with police or trying to get bail? Still, the judge acknowledged a critical factor. By October, Lourentia had, open quote, cleaned up, become lucid, and provided a more complete account, close quote. Let's be clear. Lorentia Lombard didn't hand Joshlin over. She didn't make the deal. She didn't collect the money. But, and it's a crucial but, she was there. She knew. She knew Joshlin was being prepared for something sinister. She heard Kelly talk about the money. She saw the white VW Polo. She witnessed the child's clothes being packed into a black cooler bag and told to be ready, and she chose silence. By her own admission, she expected a share of the 20,000 rand sale price. Open quote, "I was going to get 1,000 rand. That's why I didn't say anything," close quote, she told the court. Even when Joshlin was officially reported missing on Monday the 19th of February, Lourentia did nothing. She watched the search unfold. She knew what happened, and still, she said nothing until she was arrested. Her statement became the cornerstone of the state's case. But it's not just her silence that implicates her, it's her proximity to the crime. She was allegedly present at key moments. She saw the preparations. She saw Joshlin leave. She had the power to stop it and didn't. To help the court assess the gravity of the crimes committed by the accused, including Lourentia, the state called expert witness Dr. van der Waart. His conclusion? Ms. Lombard knew what was going on. She was in no psychotic state. She was not hallucinating. She understood the gravity of her actions. The doctor ruled out diminished responsibility and confirmed that while Lourentia was a recovering drug addict, she was not suffering from any mental illness that could explain her failure to act. The key takeaway from his testimony was that Lourentia had agency, she had clarity, she could tell right from wrong. She may have been under pressure or fear, but she was not incapacitated mentally or emotionally. That testimony made one thing certain. Lourentia is morally and legally complicit. The only reason she's not been sentenced is because of her Section 204 agreement. Despite Dr. van der Waart's assessment, the defense tried to expose Lourentia as an unreliable witness. They pointed out her heavy drug use on the days in question, her contradictory statements during early testimony, and her potential bias against the accused, particularly Steveno van Rhyn. At one point, she admitted she didn't like him, but later clarified under pressure that she didn't implicate him out of spite. Still, Judge Erasmus noted the pattern. Each time Laurentia's version was challenged, especially with hard questions, she either contradicted herself, became unwell, or asked for an adjournment. Her reliability is under heavy scrutiny, but as the judge himself would later say, she may still be the only reason the state secured 3 life sentences even in the absence of the victim. On the day of sentencing, all eyes were on the 3 accused, but the court didn't forget Lourentia Lombard, the Section 204 witness who admitted to knowing about the plan to traffic Joshlin and stood by for a cut of the money. Judge Nathan Erasmus acknowledged that Lourentia would be dealt with in a separate hearing. However, he made it a deliberate choice to speak on a row, not as a matter of legal procedure, but as a matter of moral duty. He recalled how Lourentia, on the day Joshlin was trafficked, looked the 6-year-old child in the eyes, gave her something to eat, and did nothing. He paused, not to deliver a sentence, but to reflect the gravity of that silence. Open quote. She also, on that day, looked Joshlin in the eye, gave her something to eat, and did nothing to protect her. Close quote. The judge placed her in the same emotional category as the three convicted, someone who had the power to stop a crime and chose not to. The effect was so profound. The community's grief, the trauma of educators like Edna Waart who taught Joshlin, and the symbolism of a missing fingerprint on her classmate's tree mural all traced back to a circle of adults who should have protected her. And while the judge refrained from making legal determinations about Lorentia's fate in that session, he made one thing clear: her moral culpability is undeniable. Legally, Lorentia Lombard's fate hinges on Section 204 of the Criminal Procedure Act. Here's how it works. Section 204 allows the state to grant conditional immunity to an accused in exchange for truthful and full testimony, but that immunity is not automatic. It's only granted after the court is satisfied that the witness told the whole truth and did not withhold or distort material facts. And in this case, Judge Erasmus made it clear earlier in the trial, he's in no position to grant immunity automatically. Lorentia's fate will be decided in a separate hearing, one where the court will consider whether her testimony was credible and complete, whether she has shown genuine remorse, and whether her cooperation truly served justice or if it was simply a desperate play for self-preservation. If Judge Erasmus deems that she failed to meet the requirements, she could face prosecution herself for her role in the trafficking and kidnapping of Joshlin Smith. But if the court finds that her cooperation enabled the state to convict where otherwise the state would have collapsed without the victim's body, she might walk free. Lorentia Lombard sits at the edge of a legal knife. Her words put 3 people away for life, but her silence helped sell a child. Her immunity hearing may well be one of the most morally challenging decisions the court will make in this case, and until then, justice for Joshlin remains incomplete. This brings us to the end of our breakdown. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. While we've reached the end of the Joshlin Smith trial, we have more content planned, more cases to unpack, and true crime stories to dive into. So believe me when I tell you, subscribing to our channel and turning on those post notifications is absolutely necessary. Also, visit our news website, swisherpost.co.za, for the best explainers on every important event happening around you. No agenda, just the story.